And after a consultation, the government has seen some sense, has actually seen some logic for once. Yeah, I know it takes some getting used to when that happens. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Callum, this is EnglishShooting, and let's get into the video. Off the back of the pretty bad news regarding the proposal to ban lead, which very much looks like it's going to come into place, we do have some good news to catch up on around sound moderators. Moderators, silencers, suppressors, whatever you want to call them. Within the UK, a suppressor is a licensed part. It goes under a firearm certificate and is considered a firearm in itself, requiring a dedicated slot on your firearm certificate. This has been one of the more absurd areas of our firearms law for many years, given the fact that you can already buy moderators completely off firearms licensing controls for air guns that are also compatible with live fire ammunition. And after a consultation, the government has seen some sense, has actually seen some logic for once. Yeah, I know it takes some getting used to when that happens, and they have announced that they will be removing sound moderators from firearms licensing controls. The responses to the consultation were a big part of it, and I could go on a 5-minute rant about the fact that it was a minuscule amount of the shooting community that actually responded. 12,471 to be exact, bearing in mind roughly there's about 500,000 to 700,000 certificate holders here within the UK, and that's excluding the airgun shooters, the shooters that are out there within the community without certificates. You're talking potentially millions of people that regularly take part in shooting sports within the UK, and we get a response from that community of only 12,500. It is very clear, looking through the response of this consultation, the people that did actually get off their butts and put a response, it did make a difference. It did influence the government in their decisions, and a number of very good points were made to the government in terms of justification for taking them off, but also some suggestions in the way that this should happen moving forward. Because this is going to require some change to firearms legislation, we are going to have to wait until there's some time within Parliament to allow this to happen. From what they are saying, they will be completely removed from firearms licensing control. You will no longer have to sign them on to your certificate. You won't have to worry about variations. And from what we understand, you will no longer have to safely store them because they will not be considered a firearm. Some interesting suggestions though, and it very much looks like this will be a part of it. You will still need to present a firearms certificate to a registered firearms dealer when purchasing a suppressor. Now, I think this is perfectly sensible and is a very good compromise. It cuts off the concern that suddenly you're going to have criminals already in possession of their illegal firearms and ammunition just running around with suppressors, going into RFDs, going into legitimate businesses and purchasing accessories for their illegal firearms left, right and centre.
Thank you very much.
One concern that I have seen a lot of people raise is, at the moment, you can buy moderators, suppressors, silencers for air guns without a firearm certificate. You can just walk in to a gun shop, say it's for an air gun, and walk out with it. I don't know how that is going to be affected, and I really hope the logic continues with the government here and they don't end up cutting off the legs of air gun users or even air pistol users, and there is still that exemption for air guns that you don't require to present a firearm certificate. I would imagine for air guns, nothing is going to change. The status quo will be maintained. Proofing of the moderators is an interesting consideration. Also, at the moment, any firearm that is sold within the UK needs to be proofed by the proof house, and this is a safety aspect. They test the firearm to make sure that it is safe, that it is not dangerous, that it can withstand the pressures that it's going to be exposed to. Now, technically, with the moderator coming off ticket, coming off firearms licensing controls, it will no longer be required to be proofed. There are some concerns that you might get these sort of backstreet garden shed moderator manufacturers pop out of nowhere. Some guy with a lathe or basic tools thinking, right, I can make a moderator, I'm going to start selling them, and not building them to the required standard. So for current moderators that you can buy off ticket, say for air guns, that hasn't been an issue because there aren't the pressures involved. But as soon as it becomes unrestricted for anybody to start making a 223, 308, even a 50 BMG suppressor, and that can be sold and bought by anyone, where are the checks and balances to make sure that that moderator is fit for purpose, that it is safe, and that it can withstand the pressures? And I do think this is a genuine concern and something that works very well with our firearms licensing system and the proof house. If it's got that proof mark, you know it's safe, you know it's been tested. And whilst we might have these backstreet moderator manufacturers pop out of nowhere, and I'm sure there are going to be a lot of people coming out of the woodworks seizing the opportunity to capitalize from the ease with which people can buy moderators, I think sense will prevail. A lot of people will end up going with the mainstream manufacturers. They, like when you buy any product, you do your research, you review, you go by reputation, and I don't think Shady Bob with his back garden shed is going to get many sensible firearms owners buying his hand-whittled suppressors. What I would still like to see is for the proof house to still continue proofing suppressors and moderators to give that mark of safety. Whilst they won't be required, it would be that step above, that extra approval for the genuine, legitimate manufacturers to say, we've had this externally tested, this is absolutely fine, and you can trust in our product. The other huge benefit here, and I think one of the big drivers for the success in being considered by UK government and being approved to go ahead with, is the workload that it is going to take off firearms licensing departments. At the end of the day, everybody can accept that a suppressor and moderator on its own poses no danger to the public, but is creating a hell of a lot of workload and additional admin for our already overstretched firearms licensing departments. It does worry me that we are going to be looking at legislation change, because when they go into the effort, when they go and put the time in to change legislation, it's very easy for them to add a few little extra bits. And let's not forget, there's been a huge amount of discussion around amalgamating the shotgun certificate and firearm certificate, basically bringing in the same requirements for a shotgun certificate as a firearm certificate, making it far harder to obtain a shotgun certificate and maintain a shotgun certificate. If they're going to be cracking open the Firearms Act and firearms legislation and going in there and making tweaks and making changes for moderators, I wouldn't be surprised if a few extra bits get chucked in there. Overall, it is good news. We have to take the wins where we can. It's few and far between that we get things changed in our benefit, in our favor. That's what sort of makes me a little bit suspicious about them using the opportunity to sneak something else in, but we have to take it. We also can't be complacent about this. We can't sit back and go, yeah, we won one for once. We've got one over on them, we've got something changed, we've got something back, logic has prevailed, because when you look at the bigger picture, they are talking about increasing the requirements for shotgun certificates. They have announced that lead ammunition is going to be banned for many different disciplines, and there are a whole host of other things that we know that they are chomping at the bit to take away, to restrict even further. So let's not stand back and go, that's it, things are moving forward for us. We still need to be protecting the sport. We still need to be keeping an eye on what they're doing, engaging with consultations when we have the opportunity, because this is a shining example of the positivity, of the progress that can be made when, as a community, we engage with the government, we engage with these consultations. And if we were able to get the numbers that should be responding, we could move this sport and move our legislation a lot further forward. So be engaged, have your voice heard, and seize the opportunities when they are offered to us. But there we go. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. If you've enjoyed this video or found it useful, then please give it a thumbs up. Make sure as well you are subscribed for future videos, and of course, as always, I hope to see you soon.